On today's November 13th show, entrepreneur Kevin Shaw is here asking the question, what makes for a great product service experience? And we learn about fun arts workshops being offered by Creative Access Manitoba with Kara Joseph. Speaking of work, let's get to it.
This is Kelly and Company.
And this lady over here, Nazreed Abdul-Majid, joining us on the program today, hanging out with lots of cool stuff to talk about, along with our guests, which we'll start getting to them in just a couple of moments. But Nazreed, one of the things we've been trying here on Kelly and Company is putting out some poll questions. Do you want to talk a little social media with us? And happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, absolutely. First of all, we sent out a poll question yesterday asking you guys which part of your body tends to feel the cold the most. And our options were hands, feet, face, or other. And 100% of you guys said feet. I couldn't agree with you guys more. Feet are like my most sensitive, vulnerable part of my body where I feel the cold the most. Um, but if you guys want to see more poll questions, please go follow us on Twitter at Kelly and Co AMI. You could also follow us on Instagram, Kelly and Co AMI as well, and subscribe to us on YouTube on Kelly and Company. And if you miss any other episode, you can go check it out on any other podcast platform.
It's kind of fun, right? Like, again, putting together your question, because we'll get talking about something here on the show, and it just pops into your mind and you get wondering, and it's a
Yeah,
nice way to kind of find out how other people feel about it. And I certainly had
exactly.
nothing to do with the result. No bribing people. Hey, I say feet, go answer. Let's just blow it out of the water. It really is interesting because I also think it's an inherited thing. I got thinking about it yesterday after we were on the show, and I remember my father constantly saying, as soon as my feet get cold, that's it, I'm done for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's my feet and my fingers. Not even like my whole arms. No, it's just my fingers
Just
that
the
get
hands,
really
fingers.
cold. And I always wear fuzzy socks in the winter, and I still feel the cold. I
It's
don't know how. I don't know
well,
why. It's
it's
always like
funny
that.
though. It's such a state of mind, but it's like adversely, the nose. My nose will get
Yeah.
cold, but it doesn't
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
mean the rest of me feels cold from it. It's like
Isn't that
it's just
weird?
like a hot bullseye in the center of my face that I'm cold, and that's it. And
I'm like,
but
is
not,
my
it doesn't
nose
make the
too
rest of me
big that
go
it
funny.
feels the cold more?
Anyway, moving on from that, no comment.
Yeah.
There's an HR department at this company. So anyway, moving on. Thanks, Nez. Appreciate it. Hopefully, when we do another poll down the road, folks, jump on board. Otherwise, please follow us out on our social media. We'd love to hear from you and enjoy the content Nazreen is putting out for us. We've had many conversations on this program on the topics of health. So many different varying conversations of health and wellness, of course, thrown in there as well. But we've not focused on this upcoming one, aging, and how to slow it down. Man, if we have the right answers for this, maybe Frances could be making some great money. Welcome back to the show, Frances. Appreciate it. It's been a while since we've had you. Glad to have you on board.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Kelly. I'm glad to be back. The focus of my show, as you said, not my show, of our segments on the show is that it's been health and wellness. And I realized that I've talked almost 80 episodes and we have not defined what health is. So I wanted to kind of bring it all together in this segment. And I thought we just dive and just ask you what you think your definition of health is. And just there's no right or wrong. I
Mm.
just kind of want to hear what you have to say.
I would think, and again, going back to being in school, and they'd say you have health class where you'd learn about the body, you'd learn about associated things that we should be doing to take care of ourselves, but mainly how does the body work and that kind of thing. Fast forward to today, when I know as I'm getting older, there are those different components of things that you do, the talk of vitamins and what they may or may not do for you, depending on what, as you've learned through your life, you are lacking in. I have an iron deficiency that I learned about as a child. I know I have to watch that kind of thing. So I always think of health far more as taking care so you feel better doing the right things, and not doing the wrong things that may cause you pain, and putting the right things in your body, but remembering also to treat yourself and enjoy. That's kind of where I
That's
sit on it.
right. Yeah. That's great. If we're going to take a look at the definition from the World Health Organization, they define it as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I think that it's really important to note that we're not just looking at the physical and mental well being, but we're looking at the overall picture. So, as you said, you have to, look at what you're deficient in and then also trying to balance that out. So, we're looking at how we're integrating society as well, because it's kind of like having one without the other is like a tripod that has lost one or two of its legs. So with the advent of modern medicine, we have been living longer and longer. And in fact, what do you think the average life expectancy at birth is around the world?
Oh, I remember it used to be when I was a kid 72, but I believe it's gone up to 76.8 or something crazy like that.
You're right the first time. So I couldn't find anything
Yeah.
more recent than 2019, but the WHO says it's 73.4 years of age. Now, remember, this number is globally averaged. So industrialized countries will have a higher life expectancy. And then in 2000, there were almost 170,000 people 100 years of age or older. And you might
Wow.
find this number surprising, but it's predicted to increase to over 20 million by 2100. Now, I personally find this number a little questionable just because
Yeah.
I think that the very fast paced and stressful lifestyle that most of us are living today, with the increased pollution that we're breathing in, and even the quality of products that we're consuming and using, which are much further from the way the nature intended when we think about the chemicals, toxins, and processing of our food and water. But who knows, with more awareness, we can do what we're able to maximize our exposure and consumption of clean products to live a healthier life. Now, another fun note before we go on, what do you think is the age of the oldest person who has lived?
Of all time, the oldest,
Yes.
I'm going to say 118, I believe.
You're also like on fire today. That's close.
Wow.
The record is held by a French woman, Jean-Louise Calment, who died on August 4th, 1997, at the age of 122 years and
Oh,
164 days. So she continued to cycle, like bicycle cycle, until her 100th birthday and even outlived both her daughter and her grandson.
that is amazing. When you think about this, and again, I know a lot of us get a headache trying to figure out the right things to do, what we need to do. And I know there's a level of, yeah, but you have to be realistic about who you are, what your circumstance is, without defeating yourself and saying, well, you know what? Both my parents passed away in their 70s. I'll never make it past or whatever because I'm a smoker or whatever. Yeah, sure, you might say, okay, for the better of my body, I better quit smoking. But it's interesting conversations as to people's viewpoint of what may make you hang around. I note always the folks who seem to have been through wars and how we have so many people who have survived living to 100, and that kind of thing. And you would think because of what they went through and everything like that, the toll on their bodies versus somebody who may have played a major league sport, been a professional athlete for so long, taking care of their body, but with injuries and stuff like that, retires at 36 years old and complains incessantly in their 40s about their aches and pains and what might that do down the road. So it's very fascinating. And I don't know, when you think of somebody living to 122, back in the 90s, that person, was the oldest. And it just makes you say, what do you do? And so many people tell you, I just be me. It's the way my mind works. So when we get into this, 122, the other part of health seems to be aging. Can we get into that and discuss what that actually is, Francis?
Yes, so Kelly, age is actually just a number because how old we are is subjective, just as you said. So, how
Right.
old we feel is how old we are. So, aging is described as a progressive loss of physiological integrity leading to functional impairment and an increased likelihood of death. So, it sounds pretty depressing.
It
But there are
does.
two other important terms here, and the first is lifespan. So, lifespan is the time that one survives between birth and death. So, the number of years that someone lives or how old they are when they die. Life expectancy is slightly different, and this is the amount of time a person is expected to live based on the year that they were born, their current age, and various demographic factors, including gender. It's statistically defined as the average number of years of life remaining at any given age. So, life expectancy is basically the average lifespan of a population. And
Mhm.
another interesting fact is that the age of death of the world's oldest person has not increased since the 1990s. So, this seems to suggest that the maximum lifespan of humans is fixed around 120 years of age, but life expectancy has doubled over the last 2 centuries around the world. Now, have you heard of the word health span?
I've heard of it. I'm now thinking as we get into life expectancy, everything. I'm not so sure I would know anymore what I felt that meant.
So that's a great segue. This health span describes the period of time during which a person is healthy within his or her lifespan. So the
Ah.
health span is therefore shorter or at most as long as the life. And a person can fall ill early in life, but still live for several years. So even though we may be looking at ways to live longer, for myself, I think that the quality of life is more important. So quality over quantity, because you could live to be over 100, but if you're bedridden or unable to do anything for yourself, then it can be a miserable experience. In the words of psychologist Dr. Ellen Langer, so many people are trying to add more years to their lives, and I think that what we should be doing is adding more life to our years.
Mm. I find this so fascinating because, like you say, again, some of it I stop and say, okay, um, when we look at a lifespan, and you look at it kind of as an individual thing, but no, it's not. It is it's the grouping because that's all I've ever known it to be. I'll go back there first of all, but I definitely understand what you mean. The quality of life, the problems one could have, and that or the health span. I guess I'm saying sorry where we know this is a period of time for this person where health has been at its best. And unfortunately, through illnesses and different circumstances, that really does make you stop and think about the terminology, the meaning, and the guesstimates when it comes to life expectancy. I know they used to say, what was the old American thing? Four score, whatever it was, in the sense of how long you were people were expected to live. That was what their life. And years ago, when we think, hey, there was less pollution, and everything, how come people didn't live longer? And a lot of key factors came into that, where people were viewed as a almost a senior at 50, 55 years old. So I always find that stuff very interesting, especially being a fan of old time radio and some of the things I hear mentioned. Francis, are there easy things to help us improve on this or maintain our health?
Yeah, I think that it's important that people pay attention to their health, but not become so obsessed with it that it consumes them and takes the joy out of living. So, here are some things that we can do to slow down aging and have that better quality of life based on guidance from the Heart Association. So, these are all common sense things. Eat better. After all, you are what you eat. So, we've talked
Yes.
about this many times before. Eating fresh, local, organic, and in season food, whole foods, fruits and vegetables, grass fed meats if you eat meat, and as little processed foods and sugars as you can. And I know it's not always possible, but when given the options to choose the healthier one and notice if your body is telling you that you're full so you don't overeat. So eat mindfully. Number two, sleep more. And I say sleep more because most of us are functioning on sleep deprivation. We've talked about sleep as well many times on the show, and we're aiming again for quality over quantity. And for most people, looking at 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, preferably at the same time each night. So we're setting up the body for a regular schedule. Number three, stay active. And ideally, we're talking about regular exercise 2 to 3 times a week. But if for whatever reason you're not able to exercise, then see if you can walk instead of taking the bus or subway or the car. And if you can't walk the whole way, get off a few stops earlier or get dropped off a few blocks earlier and then your destination so that you can get some steps in. And number four, Quit smoking. If you don't smoke, great, you're already ahead of the game. If you do smoke, it's highly recommended that you quit smoking since smoking is the most important preventable cause of premature death, at least in the United States. And I'll add another thing that we can do to slow down aging, and that is to decrease our stress levels. Find some
Mm.
activities and things to do that can calm the mind, like meditation, and the body will follow. We know that there's a mind body connection, so we just need to listen to that inner wisdom. And you had said so yourself earlier, like how different people, how come some people live a certain age and others don't live as long? There definitely is a mindset and attitude. And I want to illustrate this, this body mind connection with a story in case that you don't believe that these two are linked. So, Dr. Ellen Langer is a Harvard psychology professor, and she tells a story of how she married when she was quite young and went to Paris for her honeymoon. She ordered a mixed grill dish and, wanting to be sophisticated, thought she needed to clean up the plate and eat everything. But there was pancreas in the dish. So when it
Oh,
arrived, she asked her new husband which item it was, and he pointed it out. She ate everything on the plate until it came to that last piece that she was absolutely dreading. And as she began chewing it, she started to feel sick inside while her husband was laughing at her. And she looked at him and asked him, what was so funny? And he told her, that's chicken. You ate the pancreas a long time ago. So
oh,
definitely mindset.
yep, yeah,
So, yeah, getting back to this list, what I like about this list is that it's minimal effort to put these into
yes.
actions. This isn't something that you have to go completely out of your way for because we have to eat anyways. We have to sleep. We need to move to get to certain places. So it isn't that the list is impossible to achieve, but I'll add everything, also everything in moderation. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to have a good quality of life, not just necessarily the longest. So it's a matter of finding the balance. And I want to close this off with a Tibetan proverb. The secret to living well and longer is eat half, walk double, laugh triple, and love without measure.
Wow. I was going to ask you which one of these things you thought in the list outside of smoking and certainly the stress one, we know they're absolute components. Which one was the most important? Because we've talked about so many of these, what you would quantify, whether it's for your life or just in general, the most important. But I'm not sure, Francis, I need to after you did that last read because it said so much to us and so many things that we do know. Variety, good to have in life so that you don't ever feel deprived and stress yourself out worrying so much. And there's only so much you can control, but there is so many easy things that we can do, especially on this list, whether it's getting a little more sleep and eating the right food, staying active in all sorts of ways, which can mean all sorts of things, long as they give you that real positive set of mind. Thanks, Francis.
You're welcome.
Always wonderful to talk. Frances Wong on the program. We're talking health and wellness. Today we were speaking of aging, and Frances will be back next month for another conversation. So, Nazreen, you sat through that, and in your
Mm.
world, in your family, in life in general, and I'm asking this because so many of us have family members, something that runs through our families that we say, oh, our family has heart troubles, our family is, um, likely, like so many of us, diabetes seems to run through the family, or this and that. Is there something that you feel um, is that thing you'll make sure you'll always be careful of, whether it's food, getting enough sleep, or whatever? We've been teasing all week on the show about sleeping in, but the one guarantee of getting enough sleep
Mm.
we've learned lately more so is healthy. We joke about me hating sleeping, but I've become far more aware that I do have to do better with sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's so many things where I'm like, I really need to do better. First of all, to control my stress levels, that is number one thing. I'm the type of person that stresses over a lot of things, whether it's small or big, and I need to kind of, as Francis put it, have a hobby to kind of de-stress, to
Yeah.
calm myself down, whether it's yoga or anything like that. So there's something that I need to do better. Sleep is a big priority there because I barely sleep. It's insomnia, and that's an issue for me. Like, I feel like that is a big priority there, where I know you can relate to this, Kels, because
Hmm.
you barely sleep too. I noticed that as well. So it's something that we really need to work on. And I know, like, in my family, there's so many like health issues there, where it's heart troubles or diabetes or something that is very common in our family. But we could do better in other things that can help with our health. Active is something that I've been doing really well. I have to pat myself on the back there, because I feel like I've been trying to be more active lately, and I think it should, no matter what age you are. I feel like that's something that everybody needs to work on and be consistent.
Yeah, I used to say that all the time. Of course, Canada Fitness and everything like that for kids, right on through. We know for seniors, and that's active physically and mentally. We
Yeah.
from young age to old, you need to do that. And I know for myself, I'm trying to do more naps, letting myself doze off to sleep, and not wake up in a panic, which was always the thing I hated. If I took a nap watching something, I woke up. Oh, what did I miss? And it was just stressful on me. I try not to worry. I try not to get that
Mm,
panic, because I'm certainly sure that worked on shortening my life too. That kind of anxiety when there's no need for it. So I've really thought a lot about that. Obviously, I think of the right foods, the variety of foods. Don't have to cut yourself out of stuff, but you got to be sensible about it. And I see one other thing that's, to me, the best thing when it comes to the oral intake: lots of water. Lots of water,
mm.
maybe even a little less of my coffee, but we know that's dirty pool, right, Nez?
After
We're
yeah,
doing all the other
after
right things.
after Francis Wong's segment, I was like, wow, I need to work on a lot of things there, because I'm a big sweet tooth person. I barely drink water. I barely sleep. I'm not very consistent with so many things. So I'm like, there's a long list of things that we need to work on there for sure.
What are your feelings out there, folks? If you ever want to comment, please give us a call: 1-866-509-4545, 1-866-509-4545. Always love to hear from you, giving us some feedback. Got an interesting topic now, so we welcome in entrepreneur Kevin Shaw back to the show. Kev's going to join Nisreen and I. How are you, sir? Nice to have you back on board.
Oh,
There he is. Gotcha, I think. Oh, maybe a second here. We'll get him in as he's getting things sorted. Um, but today Kevin's got a really, oh, there you are, I think, hey Kev? No, not quite.
how about
Today,
now?
Oh,
there
there
he
you
is.
are.
Yes, sir.
There we
Nice,
There
are.
you
clean,
are.
and clear, at least audio
There we
wise. I don't know
go.
if anyone can see you, but
Pushing
how
the
are you?
pushing the buttons. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for bringing me back into the Kelly and Company fold.
Oh, yeah, well, really glad to have you, buddy. Of course, we would be remiss. People go check out Kevin's content. Mind your own business. How's things going over there?
Things are great. We're just waiting for season 4 to hit the air. Wrapped up
Oh,
all the voiceovers about a month ago, and I'm just waiting for the call from AMI to let us know that it's running. I don't have dates
what
yet, but I think that's it'll be soon.
do you think? The buzz, and again, I'm putting you on the spot with this one, I know for sure, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't do that. Do you think there's season 5? Any buzzing of that yet, or when
I
does that
I,
usually
I
happen?
certainly hope so. We're definitely looking ahead to putting another season together. I've got some entrepreneurs who are interested on being on the show, and we're talking about maybe taking the show on the road and maybe going out to going out west and meeting some of our entrepreneurs out there, because the show has been sort of dominated by entrepreneurs in Eastern Canada. We had a lot of West Coast entrepreneurs this time around, but they were all joining us via Zoom. So it'd be great to go out and meet folks in person and just have them in the room.
Would you guys basically shoot a whole season, say in Vancouver? Would you move around a bit? What are the thoughts to you? What would that look like if you did that?
I imagine that we'd probably just shoot everything in one place for simplicity's sake. It's a little harder to kind of pick everything up, set, and
Yeah,
just do all of that stuff and move that around. It's easier for us to do it all in just one place and have folks come to us.
really good. All right. Well, we'll wait for. First of all, let's not get too far ahead, like I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wait, get season 4 off and running, and people take that in on AMI TV or at AMI Plus, of course. Kev, your topic today really interesting. I think Nisreen and I will have some interesting discussions, and it's made us think. A time when a product maybe at some point exceeded our expectations from start to finish, and I like that you put that in there, where me as the customer was really delighted. So let's start, Kev, with your example so we know kind of which way you want to go here.
Well, I think one of the examples that a lot of people will talk about is buying something from Apple. And so Apple has really thought out, what's called the customer journey from start to finish. And it might be unboxing something like a a computer, or I think the last thing I got from Apple was one of the Home Pods.
Yep.
And it's this big kind of cylindrical thing. It's kind of heavy to pull out of the box, and you're expecting to basically just reach in and like lift this thing out of the box and taking all the packaging out. The box ended up being perforated so that all you had to do was undo the top and then basically zip down the side, and then the box came apart around the speaker. And it was like, I just saved myself so much effort from having to like reach in and like find the edge of this thing and like pull it out. And then of course, it's got voiceover built in, and as soon as you plug it in and turn it on, it's, do you want to use voiceover? And they've really thought this through from start to finish. And that's not the computer. That's basically a smart speaker. I can say for a store experience, I have I play drums. I've got a drum kit here in the studio, which has shown up several times on my appearances on the show.
You're going to take Nisreen's, I bet. Go ahead, Kev. Who is it?
But I went to I went online to a company called Reverb, and Reverb, they are an international retailer for music gear. So any gearheads out there, if you want to check out music stuff, you go to a site like Reverb. And I was looking around for a drum machine, something I play with sticks and use when I play drums. And I was like, oh, like I'd never heard of this website before. And I went on there, and the whole site was accessible. The purchasing experience was really easy. I had questions for the store that I was dealing with, which was the store out in France. And, I asked them some questions. They got back right away. The notifications came in. Everything was really easy to read, really streamlined. I put in the order. I got some shipping done. They were just, right there. Okay, here's your product. It's on, it's left the store. It's on a truck. Now it's on the plane. Now it's in Canada. Now it's clearing customs. Now it's doing this. And it's like, wow, they thought of everything. And then, I got the product and opened it up, and everything was safely packed, and just a really, really great experience with that.
Isn't drum playing the most cathartic? Even if you're not a drum player, to sit there and play drums is so cathartic. Like you could just sit there, play, bang around, do what you want. I find that so many people who don't do drumming, you let them. It's sort of like Lego. You put Lego down, people start playing, and it's such a stress reliever. As long as you have that ability, I think that's fascinating. You said right off the top something with the first example, Kev, that made me think of purchasing stuff that I've unboxed. Particularly, I think of lamps. I've had lamps because they try to protect it, and you get the stuff inside
lamp.
that's to protect it, and it's messy. I have had a lamp that I pulled out, and as a blind person, the mess created, and all you can do is feel around, sweep up as best you can, and then pray when you run your vacuum over it. You're either not going to pick something up that's going to screw up your vacuum, but that you get everything. Those experiences, I'm sure you'll agree, they're the nightmares.
Oh, the packing peanuts. I think we need some sort of ordering cabinet that we should just stop using packing peanuts altogether.
Yes.
I ordered I ordered something recently that came with packing peanuts. I'm like, really? We're still doing this? It's 2024.
Yes.
It's almost 2025, and we're still using the packing peanuts.
And
Um,
styrofoam that falls apart. Like,
Oh, I
just, it
yeah,
hate the
crumbles,
styrofoam.
and I don't know
yeah,
why.
And then you get the little bits of white stuff all over your
Everywhere.
floor, and it sticks to
yeah,
your
And they
clothes.
stick to you. Yep.
It
Yep.
yeah.
sticks everywhere. It's so
Well,
annoying.
companies are really taking the leap forward in terms of understanding how products can be packaged in a way that actually reduces waste. And so Apple
Mhm.
is again, done a really good job with this, where they'll take paper products and use that for their packaging, and basically eliminate as much packaging as possible, so
Yes.
that you can get to your product a lot faster, but you're also throwing out less stuff,
Mhm.
and stuff that's got to end up in a landfill, like
And the product is
styrofoam.
held in place, and I think that helps for
Yeah,
shipping, for so many things. So, because stuff's not bouncing around, it's held in place properly or by itself. Apple was going to be my example. I thought, but then I figured one of us is going to pick it out. Nazreen, where do you want to go? You and I talked before we went on. You had some examples.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing that I've had a great customer service from start to finish is Long and McQuaid, the biggest music store out
really.
here in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. I'm a DJ, so I go there so many times, whether it's to rent or buy
Hmm.
stuff or to ask questions about any gear. And their customer service, whether it's on the phone or in person, I prefer in person just so it's more clear and I can
Yeah.
actually feel the product
Yeah, me
myself.
too. Yep.
And they've they're just amazing. Their prices are amazing. Their customer service is amazing. Anything you need for music, like I suggest Long and McQuaid. Rental prices are like everybody's shocked by the
Sure.
rental
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
prices. And if you have any issues, you can just call them up. If your product has been stolen, it's easy to get through because I've had that experience myself
Oh
where a
no.
fog machine was stolen from me while I was packing up from an event, and I had to call them up and yeah, there's a service about that too. So is everything that you could think of, they can help you out with.
Mm.
And if you have any questions about any product, like it's amazing how they know about any product you list down and they're like, "Yep, this is this and this and this."
Yeah.
Like they know all about the information about the
And
product.
they
They
know
don't even
what
have to search
staff
it up.
knows, right? I've purchased from them, and they've had to say, "Just a minute, Fred, come over there. This guy," and that
Yeah,
Yeah.
person knows, and that's what and they're always
exactly.
on staff at the time you're there, because, like you, I prefer to put hands on. I'm blind. That's
See,
why I
I'm
see stuff as I get
yeah,
ordering stuff, and I won't, like clothing, for example. I'm
Sure.
just not the right frame for doing that, so I would
yeah.
never order online. Sorry, Niz, go.
No, I was just saying it makes you so comfortable
Yeah,
when they have just such great customer service. Like if one of my clients said that they rented out this mic, I'm like I'm comfortable. Like I know this product is going to be amazing. I'm not worried. And that's just how it is. But yeah, it's great.
any other example, Niz?
I'm a former DJ, so I know Long McQuaid quite well. I've rented
Yeah,
and bought stuff from them for a long time, and yeah, I can definitely say when you walk into their stores, the staff really understands, and they sort of go the extra mile to help you out with stuff.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Niz, did you have an online one or something? There was another one I
Oh,
thought we talked about.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to tell you that there's such a big difference in virtual and in person.
Hmm.
And I feel like you guys can agree with me with bad customer service. And I think virtually, we all know what it is, but I'm not going to mention it. But when you call virtually, it's such a hassle where you stay on the phone for hours just to get somebody on the phone, and they keep transferring you and transferring you and transferring you. Hours later you get nowhere and you just give up. I tend to give up online. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I concur. Roger, you're correct there. I mean, yeah. Anyway,
I wasn't gonna
I
say it, but
I think it
I
depends. I think
find
also depends on where you're ordering from too. I think
yeah,
some companies, some smaller retailers, you know, maybe it's 2 or 3 people. It's a
yeah,
small operation. You can call them up. They're going to answer the phone, say, "Yep, I can walk you through this right away." Um,
yeah,
or their website is just set up so that you can go get the product, walk through the checkout process, and then you have the product shipped to your door.
yeah.
I much prefer that
I
than
would rather
having
wait
to.
there than the big company that you're waiting because the stuff they're pulling up on the screen, your question you
Mhm.
may have, it's so hard for them to find out the answer, or they need to get a manager or a second or third opinion because they're so worried about doing something. But there's just so much for them to know, the people who are the frontline people you're talking to, that they can't. So that's a rough experience. I'm trying to think of something, and I know I've had it, and it just won't come to me at the moment, where you've had that full experience, Kevin, ordering online, the stuff has come. I know I've done well with Best Buy. I think that's what I'm thinking. Where I've ordered stuff online, I've called up, the person has spent the time with me, like we're talking about if you're in person at Long and McQueen. They spend the time with you, and I don't feel
Right.
rushed. I don't feel I'm making a snap decision because, look, I got to take another call. I got to say, go away. I've got so many to do in an hour. Get out of
Sure.
here. And then it gets there. It comes when it's supposed to. You're able to track it properly without the panic of what if it gets lost? What if it shows up when I'm out? What if it? And
mhm,
I've had a decent experience. I'm sure for anyone listening there, they're out here, they're saying, well, I haven't. It showed up at my door. I wasn't there, and someone took it. They just left it and claimed, well, it was dropped off. Tough luck. I thankfully haven't had that experience, and I'm terrified of the day when it happens. Adversely, in person, I think where I found the worst customer service, that I find the most egregiously offensive, is when you're made to feel, especially at a restaurant, that you're not welcomed here. That our service,
mhm.
Yeah.
our business, we're so busy here. Can't you see how busy we are? How dare you complain that your eggs you wanted them over hard and you've got them medium? How dare you? Just, sir, tell you what you do, pay up and get out and don't come back. And that's the way I feel, stem to stern. You may get your food late. You may have the what do you want? The negative, like the negative feel from whoever the server is, and
The
then here's your
dryness,
bill, get out,
yes.
pay up.
The
We need your
best
Yeah.
table.
Yeah, the best story I heard was of a guy who went into a restaurant. I forget, it was somewhere in Canada, and he orders potatoes, and he gets these potatoes, and they're undercooked. And he
Oh.
complains to the server. He says, "Look, these potatoes are undercooked." And the server says, "Well, that's how the cook cooks them." And he says, "Yes, but they're undercooked." And she said, "Yeah, but that's how the cook cooks them." And so this argument goes back and forth. He goes, do you have a manager?" And she's like, "Well, the manager's not here." And he goes, "Okay, well, do you have a complaints process?" She's like, "You can fill out a complaint form." He's like, I'd like 2, please." And so she goes and she brings him the complaint form. And so he takes one and wraps up the potatoes in them. And then he goes and fills out the other one. He's like, "This is not how potatoes should be cooked."
That's so smart.
Here's your example. I thought he wanted the second one to complain about her, but adversely, I have done that with, I like them well done, and they're scared to death to do them well done in case I'm going to complain. These are burnt. What are you people doing? Um, Kevin, what should we look for? And again, being reasonable, like you just cited, the smaller business, and that's
Mhm.
where you'll have a lot more tolerance. What do you see as the stem to stern good service online, or when Kevin walks in?
So for entrepreneurs, if you're interested in making your product fully accessible and you want to make that really good impression, um, there are exercises out there where you can go through the whole customer journey. So how does somebody find the product? How does somebody purchase it? Is that purchase process really smooth? You're going to think about things like packaging. Are there, you know, companies will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars worrying about whether or not the corners are too sharp on a product. Is this something that could injure clients? Is this something that can save us money if we take material off the corner?
Mhm.
Um, as a consumer, I'm looking for a company that understands exactly what I need, and anticipates my needs before I do. And again, Apple is that example of like, okay, you don't have to, you know, fidget around with the packaging for 6 hours just to figure out how to open the stupid box. There's a pull tab. It's really easy to feel. You can zip it down, and then the product comes out of the packaging. That's really well thought out. But the other thing too is that you want to make sure that there is good after sales service. So is it easy to write a review for the company? Is it
Yes.
easy for you to get help if you need it? Is it easy for you to return the product? Is it easy for you to get a refund? And so these are things that both consumers and entrepreneurs should be thinking about when they're putting their product journeys together.
Apple has had the years of getting it right, with many people weighing in and ownership saying, we're not doing that, or hey, I don't like this, and getting themselves involved. What would be the best experience that you could say a person should look to if you're going to do that? Is Apple that model, being realistic over the time frame that they've been, the millions of people that work for the company
Wow.
around the world? What's the magic? Because we talk about it a lot due to the accessibility, Kev. It's so important to us.
hmm There are other companies out there that are doing really great work on customer service. So there's a great book I read about the Ritz-Carlton, and
Oh,
they go above and beyond to the point where there's a story told of a valet who parked a car, and he noticed that there was the owner of the vehicle was drinking a sports drink, and the drink was finished. Not only did they return the car, so when the owner came to pick it up from the valet, not only was the car ready and the air conditioning was set, but there was a brand new bottle of sports drink in the owner's car. And Ritz Carlton gives their employees kind of an allowance of up to $3,000 to fix any customer complaint or any guest complaint right away.
wow.
So, for example, there's a guest who complained that the TV in his room wasn't working. And so the hotel employee just said, okay, I will just go out and buy a new TV. Bought a new TV, brought it to the room, hooked it up, set it up, and that's how they solve those problems. And I think it's one thing when you're empowered to solve a problem
Mm-hmm.
that can really change the way that a customer sees your company. Disney is another one. I have a friend of mine who's blind, who's in the U.S., and she went to Disney World in Florida. Was there by herself. Thought she was going to be getting a guided tour. Was told that that the tour was like $300 or something, and was just kind of disappointed, and ended up walking down Main Street in Disney World, and a Disney cast member came up to her and said, would you like some help going somewhere? And she tells a story in her blog post about how Disney came through, and that cast member took her to a ride and then radioed ahead and said, we've got a guest in the park who's got who's without sight, please look out for her. And she described like having the best day ever, all because Disney was paying attention and made sure that she had a really good time at Disney World.
Happy staff makes for the happy experience for the customers. That's
Yeah.
the way I see it. When you don't find people are coming back from lunch and somebody's just left work piled up that they've got to try to sort, that's when the mistakes happen. That's when customers out there get left off and are left with a bad experience. Kev,
Yeah,
awesome. Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Kevin Shaw joins us monthly with a business chat right here on Kelly and Company. We'll talk to him later on in December. Nazreen, I love the story Kevin gave about the Ritz, about the sports drink, but then of course I got thinking about over here in Canada, what if it was somebody's empty Tim Hortons cup? The guy replaces it and the person's mad because it was a roll up the rim cup and they hadn't rolled it up yet. Then again, they probably
Mm.
rolled it up on their own.
Oh my God, yeah.
Might
I've heard so
backfire.
many stories. I've heard so many stories during the roll up the rim cups. But I do miss those days. I do miss those
Yeah.
days. Now it's just online.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness, that's true too since the pandemic.
I haven't been
Nazreen,
using
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you
been great.
guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great conversations here, folks. If you want to give us a call. If you want to visit us via email, go to kellyco@ami.ca. We have a great topic now that I'm very much looking forward to getting into. Lots of great things here as we welcome in, excuse me, our next guest. Creative Manitoba strengthens, represents, and connects Manitoba's arts and creative industries. Training program manager Kara Joseph joins us to talk about their creative workshop series. Kara, welcome to the program. Glad you could join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat about everything that we do.
Well, appreciate your time for Kelly and Company today, but let's start with the blank canvas here. What is Creative Manitoba and what does it do?
Absolutely. So, Creative Manitoba is a nonprofits arts organization. We support artists who are looking to make a career out of their arts discipline. We provide business and entrepreneurial training for artists who might not already have that foundation. So, for example, marketing or applying for grants, building a website, doing your taxes. These are things that you may be really fantastic at your art. I might be a great painter, but I have no idea how to do my taxes. And that can be a really big barrier
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I'm
we see that
trying
with
to.
athletes, right? You know, they get
Absolutely.
paid and they think, I don't know how the heck to bank this. Remember, your career's one day gonna be over, and you're gonna have nothing else necessarily to do, especially if they haven't gone to post-secondary university. Because let's be fair,
Exactly.
you got to hit while the iron's hot, especially when we're talking arts or that direction. If people are interested, and you got to protect yourself. So, okay, so we get to learn some of those workshops.
Yeah.
Carry on. What else in the workshops, and what does this look like, and how they're handled?
hmm So we also provide support for arts organizations and the work that
Oh,
they do, and we try to reach as many communities as possible. So we also partner with organizations, so a visual arts organization or a theater organization to help us reach new artists that we might not have a connection to and provide a wide variety of programming. So that's kind of how we got started with our creative accessibility series that we're uh, continuing right now.
we've had Indigenous artists that we've spoke to, and I know so many people speak of, where do I go to learn different things? Where do I go, not just to put myself out there and what I'm creating, but really for those protections. And that's what a lot of this is, protecting oneself. So can you talk about the
hmm
process of reaching out throughout Manitoba, and where you find, where you guys have noticed the most need, where you stop and say, wow, this is a disparity here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing quite a disparity right now in northern communities specifically. That's work where we're focused on right now with artists who are doing incredible work in the north, but they don't have the community or the connection to be able to expand or diversify or have a sustainable career. So we're working on a project there right now to help create a connection for Northern artists. And we're also seeing disparity within the deaf and disability community
Mhm.
to find access for the work that's being done in, and we're seeing a lot of barriers to access, both from artists not knowing where to go and organizations not expanding upon their capacity to allow space and create space for a diverse group of artists.
What does that plan, first of all, for the North? What kind of steps are you finding you're having to take to kind of suit the needs of that community?
hmm So we have we're creating sort of a network of champions. So we have artists across northern communities who are now kind of taking on jobs within their community to create the programming that we provide and be able to train new artists. And they're also trying to build an actual space for these artists to go and be able to sell their work, to be able to make food there, to be able to. There's a huge connection between art and food that's really massive with Northern and Indigenous communities. And we're trying to help with that in creating that space for that to kind of flourish. And so our network of champions, we call them, is kind of our taking the lead on this project to help uh, create programming and do needs assessments for what is required for these communities so that we can get a better idea of what that looks like. And we're also having a Northern Arts Conference every year to uh, bring everyone together and talk about the needs and talk about what's being done. And it's a really a great opportunity.
I shot a documentary in Nunavut, and I spoke to an artist, and I had no idea how much of a hotbed for artists carving, particularly, which was what I was speaking to him about. There was. I think people get surprised where you find art, where you find those who want
Yeah.
to create art, who need that help, and have you found that with the North? And I don't know if it's because we just don't realize. We think of Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, the big metropolises, or where the colleges and universities are.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that has been a surprise for us, but also it's really made us and other people rethink what we consider to be art. There is such a
Yes. Yes.
Western colonized way that we view art and what it is supposed to be. And this program and just meeting new artists and all of the incredible things that they do, it has completely expanded what we're able to do to support those artists because art doesn't have to fit into this box that we once believed it to be.
Yeah, there was almost that snobbery, right? And that's where we
Yeah,
fell short,
exactly.
right? We lost out on a lot of great stuff because what is this metal all bent into a different shape? What is this? That's art. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Um, Something dear to our audience, the disability community. I want to make sure we spend a few moments on because again,
Mhm.
another area that people get their eyes open, says the blind man. Um, we don't think about what involvement people with disabilities may have. Somebody spoke to me the other day about how many venues you can go and see plays, but they don't have any audio described. Is there money out there for that kind of thing? And we know through different things there can be. But again, a lot of it is the squeaky wheel getting the grease. What kinds of projects do you guys find yourselves working on out there in Manitoba and supporting, whether it's individuals and encouraging businesses?
Hmm. So we partnered with the organization Arts Accessibility Network Manitoba to create our Creative Accessibility series, and it sort of stemmed from this wall that was up and that we weren't able to create a connection. And we wanted to highlight the artists and the organizations that were doing really great work within Manitoba. And so it turned into this series. We hold 5 to 6 workshops a year, and it was met with a really great response. So we took it and ran. And kind of continuing upon that, we were introducing folks to musicians and visual artists. And there's an incredible tour in our sort of it's not quite the northern region, it's a middle region of Manitoba that is called the Interlake. And we have an amazing tour that happens twice a year that features artists of all disciplines. And we met some incredible disabled artists through there who were doing great work. And so being able to feature their work and that the work that they were doing was great for us, and to be able to get that feedback that people really enjoyed that. And it was really important for organizations as well, because like you just mentioned, we're seeing a little bit more alongside, accessible seating in theater. We might see a couple shows with ASL English interpretation or a couple shows with audio description, which is a good step, but there's so much more to be done. And so for to show this project to organizations and help them understand what they can be doing and what's been going on in other communities. This year, we expanded to feature organizations across Canada, which has really helped in just people getting a better understanding of that this is not, it takes work, but
Hmm.
we don't have to give up or say that's all that we can do. And I think that has been a really great step because we're seeing some accessibility for our audiences, but we aren't really seeing deaf and disabled actors being put on stage, at least not in Manitoba. And that's a huge barrier to access.
Yeah. It's the awareness, though. that you're aware. It's
Hmm.
not like those days like we talked about the snobbery towards the art. Now we know, hey, I've seen this show, I've seen this movie. There are people with disabilities out there, and we need to see positive portrayal everywhere we go. With the workshops, and I know I've done theater stuff, and I've called upon community members from community theater. This is how I relate to this in this sense for workshop help. Do you find that that is probably your best resource, the affordable resource, because we're all starving actors or artists in some capacity, carving or singing or any producing anything we're trying to do. There's always the lack of dollars, so it's on the goodwill and saying, "Hey, I'll help. I'll do this. I appreciate." Does this foster, if this is the way it goes and you get the supports of artists wanting to help other artists, does it look more like I'll come out, work a workshop? Does it ever look like mentorship? People who say, "Hey, I met this person through networking because of what you guys are doing, Kara. I I find that they're a wonderful mentor for me." Oh, I think you're frozen, so we'll see if we get you undone there, or unfrozen. I know what's going on too with that question too, for a full mouthful for you. So we'll see if we can get you refreshed or anything like that. I have found when I've worked with artists that the generosity, because so many people, everyone just don't have the finances. Um, we all want to be generous. We're all trying to get somewhere in what we're doing. So how much can I give just with my own sweat and effort? And I think that that carries so much, because we know with that, you get the experience, whether you're a person with a disability, talking about doing narration, talking about acting, talking about producing, or as Kevin was, small business. And I'm interested in this part of it. I know that so much talk, helping, volunteering, working a workshop, explaining how to do something is so vital. I also wonder on that level of mentorship, so many of us need that person to give some feedback, honest feedback, that supporter. Hey, that was really good. We all need that kind of thing. And I find that a really great way, which is what I was kind of curious with Kara, if they've been able to kind of tap into that. I think that's one of the most wonderful things with arts organizations. Going to bring Nazreen back in. I think we may have lost Kara with her freezing there. We may get her for a moment to wrap things up. But Nazreen, as a DJ, do you ever? Is it kind of more of a closed off kind of art where you guys do your own thing, or how much sharing and talking and social media or whatever do you guys do with each other?
Oh, so much. I feel like that's a big part of it nowadays. If you're not on social media, you're very closed off. No one knows who you are. And yeah, it's a bigger than that for sure.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. I guess we've lost Kara, so really interesting conversation, folks. Keep them. That's Creative Manitoba, and it's really wonderful, wonderful stuff that they're doing over there. Maybe we'll get her back on the program. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Amy Amantia joins us with holiday gift ideas and accessible holiday events. Rebecca Dingwell, first time on the show, highlights the No Stirrups November Fundraiser Challenge. This is a riding challenge. And Mary Mamalidi, of course, is here with one kitchen tool she recommends to any cook out there. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly & Co. AMI. We'll talk to you later, folks. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.